What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about how you can master asymmetric tactics. For me personally, asymmetric tactics are my favorite ones to create within FM, and it's really the way that I like to play because it allows you to basically prepare for anything that you're going to be up against. So today we're going to be going over kind of some analysis of roles as well as some formations that you can utilize within asymmetric tactics and how to get the most out of them to where you are just dominating for years to come. Now I'm going to be showcasing 3 tactics within today's video, which if you guys wish to take a look at the tactics in more in depth, I'll be linking all their videos down in the description for you guys to check out. Or if you guys just wish to download them and give them a go for yourself, I'll be linking my Discord down below in the description as well for you guys to download the tactics from the download section of the Discord. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So when I'm talking about asymmetric tactics, I'm not talking about having positions everywhere all over the pitch. I'm talking about having a tactic to where, yes, it is asymmetric, but it isn't going to be too crazy. Crazy tactics can definitely work, but more so when they look a little bit something like this, or like this, which is basically the same, just flipped, or a little bit of something like this, which once again, fairly simple, but still asymmetric. Now, one thing that you probably notice with all 3 of them is that there are holes within the tactics. So from a 4-2-3-1 target practice, there is a hole right here to where another number 10 could possibly be. It's the same thing here with my 4-2-3-1 power of the orange. Same thing, another 10 could possibly slide in right here. Or even for the 4-4-2 Ironhide, a central midfielder can slide in right here. With all of these tactics though, there is a player that can immediately slot into that area or even push on further. For the Ironhide, it's a Segundo Volante. The Segundo Volante can push in to central midfield, or he can choose to push on even higher and be part of the attack like Segundo Volantes like to do. Same thing with the power of the orange 4-2-3-1. The ball winning midfielder is going to be the player that ends up doing that, and the majority of you are probably thinking, well, ball winning midfielder is pretty defensive. In this system, they can be pretty offensive. I have basically found out a way to make the ball winning midfielder like the ultimate role, just like the Segundo Volante. They work perfect together. Which, to showcase that, I have both of those roles in my 4-2-3-1 target practice, where the Segundo Volante is the one plugging that gap up front, and then we still have the ball winning midfielder here, who once again can be offensive but is also very defensive. But being that we have the Segundo Volante going up like this, you will have the inverted wingback come in and plug that gap where they are. Now, that leaves a gap right here for the inverted wingback. So you have this center back, and then the inverted fullback, create a back 3, and then it kind of looks a little bit something like this, as Demont would probably go more central. You have a 3-2-5. So you initially go from something that has a 4-2-4 kind of look due to being asymmetric when it's really a 4-2-3-1, but due to rules that you may utilize, it goes from this 4-2-3-1 asymmetric or 4-2-4, however you choose to look at it, to then being a 3-2-4-1 or a 3-2-5. Asymmetric tactics allow you to really confuse your opponent because they don't really know what to prepare for. Because on the face of things, they might have to potentially be preparing for 3 different formations to play against, which is very, very hard to do. And that definitely plays to your advantage, and definitely to my advantage, and that is why I like using asymmetric formations so much, because it allows you to capitalize on everybody all the time. But another tactic that kind of has 3 formations in one is that 4-4-2 Ironhide, because the game's going to tell you that this is going to be a 4-1-3-2. That is what the game will tell you. However, we can see visually it is basically a 4-4-2. However, once an attack, it looks like this, a 3-1-4-2, which is once again down to the rules that it will be utilizing. And what a asymmetric tactic really allows you to do is basically master the art of surprise. Asymmetric tactics are the one type of tactic that allows you to do anything you want. And now the main reason for that is because it kind of comes down to rules that you will be playing within your asymmetric tactics. Because yes, it's all honky-dory when you have it lined up asymmetric, but to really get the best out of it, you definitely need to have the right kind of roles within the tactic. And whether that is to end up plugging those gaps that we talked about earlier on, or to where it allows you to build up into a completely new type of formation to where your opponent's like, okay, we prepared for a 4-4-2, now we have to prepare for a 3-4-2-1. How are we going to go about this? Because there will be a lot of tweaks from your opponent within the match due to not really knowing how to break you down and how to stop you. So for the roles, we're going to start with the defensive area first. With the center backs, it's going to be central defenders or ball playing defenders. If you want to utilize a libero, you will need to utilize the inverted fullback to come in and kind of play that position that the libero is leaving open. Because say you are playing the segundo volante, segundo volante goes forward, you can have that libero on defend come in and plug that gap where the segundo volante was, and you just have either your right back or left back come in, fill that void as an extra center back. And speaking of those wingback fullback areas, the inverted fullback, inverted wingback, and wingbacks are all going to be very good options for you with asymmetric tactics. In defense and midfield, roles like the regista or the segundo volante are going to be awesome. The ball one midfielder is also going to be fantastic as well. You can utilize a defensive midfielder, kind of customize them to your liking, because defensive midfielder is a role that is basically fully customizable, and you can kind of create whatever role you need that player to play out of that role, where the other ones are kind of set in stone as to what they're going to do. When it comes to central midfield, you have the central midfielder, which comes on defense, support, or the attacking duty, which you can utilize any of them. That one on defend will sit a little bit deeper. The one on support, that's kind of like a playmaker one, and a central midfielder on attack, playmaker and goal scorer at the same time. You also have advanced playmakers as well, deep line playmakers, which the deep line playmaker can also be utilized within defensive midfield as well, although I suggest the segundo volante over them. Ball-winning midfielder and central midfield as well is also pretty good. Or roaming playmaker if you kind of want to give that a go. Mezzala as well. If you're looking for a player, if you're playing an inverted wingback, they'll come in. You have that Mezzala go out wide, and it will cover the space that the inverted wingback otherwise would have been covering if they were just a normal wingback. When it comes to the wingers, either a little bit deeper in midfield or where wingers usually play a little bit further up, then using the winger, the normal winger, either on attack or support, very good options. Inverted winger from the deeper midfield area, that's a pretty solid option as well. Further forward, I would definitely suggest using the inside forward over the inverted winger, or if you want to get a little bit fancy, feel free to use a Raumdeuter, because like the asymmetric tactic, they're a very sneaky role and can kind of spring a few surprises for your opponent within a match. And then finally, up top, we have the strikers, advanced forwards, deep line forwards, pressing forwards, complete forwards. Those are going to be the roles that will allow you to get the most out of your strikers up top. Although you will probably have noticed within the 4-2-3-1 target practice, we have an advanced forward on attack. Power of the Orange, also advanced forward on attack. And then for the Ironhide, 2 advanced forwards on attack, which should basically tell you the advanced forward is definitely the way to go. It's the most overpowered and most consistent role, but if you want to use something else because you need your striker to do a little bit more, then definitely feel free to use those other roles as well. But now we're going to get into those tactical instructions, the mentalities, in possession, out of possession, and the transition part of the game within your tactic. When it comes to the mentality, you're definitely going to want to go attacking or positive. Balance, definitely an option, but it's not going to allow you to get the most out of an asymmetric tactic, because asymmetric tactics, they are broken. They, in my opinion, are the best out there possible for when you are looking for a tactic that's going to allow you to just win. These are the ones that are going to help you do that. So going positive or attacking, definitely the better bets. Positive allows you to play a little bit safer than attacking, because attacking you are going very aggressive. It's not as aggressive as very attacking, obviously, but it's still definitely way more aggressive than a positive mentality would be. Now, when it comes to those in possession instructions, it's going to be down to what roles you are using and where you need to plug those gaps. That is going to be the most important part, because this is on the 4-2-3-1 target practice. We have that segundo volante that is going to be coming up to plug this gap. Then the inverted wingback comes in to plug that gap. So you're going to be looking for underlapping runs on this left side, whether it be from the segundo volante or the inverted wingback. You can also look for the underlapping runs from the winger in this position as well. But one thing that you'll want to do always, no matter what type of tactic you are playing, is playing out from the defense. That is one of the best instructions that you can have on a tactic this year. But now when we get into that final third, working the ball into the box, definitely one that you want to have on. That's another one of the best instructions that you can use this year. When it comes to crosses though, either low crosses or whipped crosses. I really liked whipped crosses because, as you can see here, delivers the ball into the box with pace, swerve, and dip in order to make it as hard as possible for defenders to deal with them. So if you have very good crossers of the ball, that is going to be something very good to utilize, but also that just adds to the aspect of what an asymmetric tactic does, which is it causes surprises. It makes it difficult for your opponent to deal with. So why not make it even more difficult by using whip crosses in that final third? Passing directness, it's 100% up to you. If you want to go shorter, go shorter. If you want to go direct, go direct. If you want to leave it as is, you leave it at standard. And then once again with tempo, up to you. If you are wanting to play more of a gegenpressing style, you want it to be slightly higher or higher. If you want to play more possession, you either go standard or slightly lower, maybe even on lower if that is what you are wanting to do. However, with the way that I play, it is gegenpressing, but we also usually have a majority of the ball at the same time, even though we are on slightly higher tempo. But that's just kind of how my tactics play out. We have a lot of the ball and we like to press as well. Now, when we are in transition, what I suggest is to counter press and counter. Yes, it is a gegenpressing style, but that is what works the best this year within FM24. And when it comes to distributing the ball, you're going to want to distribute to your defense, the fullbacks and center backs. That is when you are in a 4 in the back though. If you're using a 3 in the back kind of asymmetric tactic, you're just going to want to distribute to your center backs. When it comes to distribution type, feel free to do whatever you want. The goalkeeper is not going to listen to you though. So if you have it on roll it out, yes, it's going to try and do that more often than not, but sometimes they're still going to boot it all the way up over your opposition's defense just because they feel like doing so. But one thing that is completely up to you, your personal preference, if you're playing a quick pace type style of football, maybe you want to put on distribute quickly to where it is constantly going and you get the ball, you move it off immediately from your goalkeeper. Or if you are trying to play a little bit more possession style, you slow it down. Once again, completely up to what your preference is. And then once we are out of possession, this is once again kind of the same that I like to go with a lot of tactics. High press line of engagement and a higher defensive line. You can, however, do a mid block and a higher defensive line, but the high press and the higher defensive line, that works much better than the mid block. Just from my testing and personal preference and having well over 1,000 hours on the game, then I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to this stuff. Definitely use a high press and a higher defensive line. Mid block, yes, it does work if you kind of want to go a little bit of a safer route, but high press, high defensive line, that is your best bet to get the most out of your tactics. And more often trigger press, that is kind of my default setting when it comes to the trigger press. You can go slightly more often, you can go much more often, but you are definitely going to want it to be one of those 3. And this is down to personal preference with all of these right here. Prevent short goalkeeper distribution. If you are playing pressing forwards, that is going to be an awesome instruction to have on. If you are wanting to play a physical brand of football, get stuck in is going to be awesome as well. However, if it's possession style and you don't want too many cards, stay on feet is going to be the way to go. When you are with your defensive line, if you're wanting to be even more aggressive, you can have them step up more, which will basically have, if they're playing a higher defensive line makes it much higher. If it's on much higher, they will then be stepping up over midfield if you have on step up more. If you have it on drop off more from higher, they'll go down to standard, and if it's on much higher, it'll go down to higher. So that's kind of how that defensive line instruction works right here. It's not gonna, if you have it on drop off more, it's not gonna have them all the way down here. That's not how it's gonna work. It's basically gonna drop one line. That is how it'll work for you. Same with the step up. It'll step up one line for you. When it comes to your pressing trap, this is a numbers game. If you have a lot of numbers inside, you can force them outside into your wingers, like you see here with the Ironhide. It'll force them into the wingers out wide, or you can trap them inside if you have numbers in midfield to where it's pretty easy for you to win the ball back, which both of these work very well for the 4-4-2 Ironhide as well. If you wish to kind of play this sort of style with the asymmetric 4-4-2, you will have the numbers out wide as well as inside to get the most out of a pressing trap. And then when it comes to that cross engagement, it's 100% down to preference. I never use it, but you can either do the stop crosses or invite crosses. I don't know why anyone would want to invite crosses because they can be very dangerous. So if you do use it, definitely use stop crosses. And one last thing when it comes to the asymmetric tactic. Within the save that I've kind of been showing you guys the tactic off of today, you guys will notice that there's kind of some AI faces. This is a save that I've personally been playing for a long while now. I'm in season 8. I started at Tromsø, Norway, went to Lazio, now we're at Bayern Munich. At all 3 clubs, I have basically only used asymmetric tactics and I non-stop win trophies. This is the first year at Bayern Munich, but we will probably end up winning the league because we're Bayern Munich, but also because of the tactic, and we're pretty darn good. Whereas at Lazio, we ended up winning 2 league titles, 2 cups, and a Super Cup with a Champions League final appearance as well. And when we were in Norway, we won 2 cups as well because Bodo Glimt there is basically the Norwegian Man City. So asymmetric tactics, if you utilize them, it brings trophies. Plain and simple. If you want to win, utilize an asymmetric tactic. So with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you guys wish to give any of these tactics a look and or a go, I'll be putting all the links for all that down below in the description. And remember, if you wish to download the tactics outright, there will be a link to my Discord down below in the description. That's where you're going to be able to download it from the download section of the Discord. But there we have it. If you guys did enjoy today's video, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing is 100% free, so why not hit that sub button. Right now on screen will be popping up my most recent video, which was a FM movie, the first I've ever done. So if you have not checked it out yet, please feel free, check it out. Absolutely loved it. Very fun doing it, and a lot of people seem to like it so far as well. So with all that being said, until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.